Good evening. This is Joyce at Amazing Grace Wolf's Homestead. I'm glad you're here with us. We got quite a bit to do today. I'm kind of running behind, so I'm going to try my best to get everything in that we have planned to do. So just bear with me and let's get started. The first thing I need to do, I'm planning meals for today, this evening, and also for tomorrow. So I'm starting off with, I'm going to make an apple cobbler. With this, I am using my home canned apple pie filling. I've been wanting to try this for a pretty good while, and I have used it in pies, and I've done different kinds of desserts with it, but I wanted to see how it would work to do a cobbler. So I'm going to take this quart of apples and I'm going to put this right inside. I'm not supposed to really use a case knife on my fruit jars, but I'm being very gentle, so I believe it'll be okay this time. Let me smooth this out. And then I'd always made up what they call a lazy day cobbler. And a lazy day cobbler is 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 cup of milk, and little dabs of butter. So I'm going to try this with this here today and see how this works. So let me get my cup, and we're going to add 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, and let me grab some salt just a minute. I like to add a dash of salt. And I need 1 cup of milk. And I'm using what we call the modern pantry whole milk that is, you can find it in your local stores. And it is whole milk, and it's just milk that's been in the process. It can be kept on the shelf. And I like that because when I buy regular whole milk, just regular milk, a lot of times I will lose that before we can use all of it. So I do like using this type of milk, especially in my cooking and baking. It's also very convenient, like in the wintertime when the weather gets bad and you don't know what kind of weather you're going to be handling, to have it on the shelf and you don't have to worry about it. So here it goes, my milk. And I'm going to stir this up. Now the apple pie filling that I canned has already got cinnamon in it, but I'm going to add just a little bit more cinnamon after I pour this over, and then I'm going to dab my butter. So we're going to pour this in. And then I'm going to add some butter. And I'm probably going to use about 2/3 of a stick. Okay. And I'm going to sprinkle a little more cinnamon. I'm going to take a pinch of sugar, sprinkle over the top. And we're going to pop it into the oven. I have the oven already heated up at 375. And we're going to leave this in here until that top is fully cooked, golden brown, and bubbly. Okay. The next thing that we got to get done, I'll wipe up some of my things here. The next thing that we've got to get done is the meatloaf. Now, my meatloaf, what I do for my meatloaf is I have thawed out 1.5 pounds of my ground beef. And I've got it into my dish. Now I am going to, let me get this hair up just for a second. There, I feel much more comfortable with that. All right. All right, so we're going to take, and I've already chopped up some onion, and there's, a cup and a half onion, diced onion in here. So I'm going to put about half of that in there. I am going to dice some celery. This is celery that I put up in the freezer. And it has been diced some. Put that right in there. Now I'm going to add a good 1.5 teaspoons salt. I'm going to add 1 egg. let's see, a good cup of ketchup. I'm going to give this a good stir. Got that, get all of that incorporated in there together. Egg and the meat and the celery and the onion, the ketchup. Salt. The other thing that I need to add is pepper. About a half teaspoon of pepper. Because I've got about, like I said, I've got about a pound and a half of ground beef, fresh ground beef here. We're going to give this a good stir. Now the next thing I'm going to add is just, I have some extra crackers here. Excuse me, pepper getting to me. And I'm going to use these crackers and I'm going to mash them up. Excuse me. I like to take the odds and ends. I think Pepper and I are going to have around and around and around this year. All right, let's see if that's going to be enough. Sometimes I like to add sweet peppers. I will chop sweet peppers. And I've got some peppers here. I just want to see what this is, the texture of this is looking like, so I know what else I want to add, or if I want to add anything else to it. Take out 3 or 4 of these peppers. Again, these are peppers that I have put up. These are the yellow golden bell peppers. And I believe these are the little banana peppers. And we're going to add that. Give this a good stir. Now the last ingredient that I'm going to put into this before I top it with ketchup is oats. And I've probably got about 1/4 of a cup of oats. Alright. Now let me get my spray. And we are going to spray my dish. I'm going to take the meat. I'm going to mash this down. And we're going to put it in the same oven at 375 degrees. And this will cook about an hour. Now, let's move on to our next step. Now we're going to get into the part of the rest of the meal. And my husband loves dried beans, and he loves cornbread. And we like, my son and I, we like squash and onions, and we love cabbage. So this is going to be added to the cooking tonight. Going to give that a swirl in that skillet. And I'm going to put 1/2 stick of butter into this skillet that I swirled with oil. And from there, I'm going to take I don't know how many of you have ever eaten squash and onions fried in the South. But we're going to put those in there like that. I'm going to give them a little swirl. And then we're going to add our squash that we put up from the summer. I'm going to add salt and pepper. That's probably a good teaspoon and a half of pepper. We're going to give it a pretty good dousing of salt. And I'm going to put just a tad of water. That's a tad. Just a tad of water to cover like this, because once this gets started cooking, it'll start, the squash will start thawing out, the onions, the water will start coming out of the onions, and we won't need it much more than that right there. We're going to cover and we're going to just let them alone and let them cook. The next thing that I need to get on the stove cooking is our beans. And this is our mixed beans that we canned and put together. And then I'm going to put some water in here and loosen these up. I'm going to add salt. I'm going to add pepper. I'm going to add garlic. And this is onion salt. Probably about an 1/8 teaspoon of both the onion salt and the garlic salt. Now, I'm going to turn this squash down. I'm going to turn these beans on. The other day, I had fried some chicken. So, I don't know if I can pick that up or not. Nope. Let's get a pot holder. And when I fried chicken, I saved the grease that I fried the chicken in. So I'm going to put 3 or 4 good tablespoons of that grease that chicken was fried in, right in here. And I just get it to where I know that it's going to just enough to season it, but not overdo the grease. Let me put this back. Okay, we've got the beans already seasoned and they are ready to just cook. Next on the agenda is putting in the cabbage. I put up cabbage in the freezer to use for soups, and then we actually just love cooked cabbage. Sometimes I put maybe a pot of hot pepper in it, and sometimes I take the cabbage when it's fresh, I'll slice it and just fry it. And fried cabbage is very good, but tonight we're just going to stew this cabbage. As you can see, I didn't put very much water in the pan because cabbage is mainly made up of water. So I'm going to put this cabbage in and turn my oven on, or my stove on. This is cabbage I put up in October of 2023. And once again, I'm going to use this grease that was from that fried cabbage. I'm going to give it 3 or 4 good helpings. I'm going to add some salt. I'm going to add pepper. This is a good place for that cayenne pepper. Just a little pinch of cayenne pepper. I'm going to turn this down and let it cook. Put the pot on there and then let it cook. Now, while these are cooking, I'm going to go on and get my cornbread made. because I usually make 3 or 4 pounds of cornbread, because each one of us usually eats a pound of cornbread to one meal. So let's get our cornbread done. This is a plate that I'm going to sit over there on the table, and this is what I'll put my cornbread on after it is finished. Now we're going to get this stuff out of the way. Let me pull down a bowl to mix. I'm going to add my milk, and I probably will use about 2/3 to 3/4 of a cup of milk. And if I need some more, I've got it here that I can put it in. But I pretty well filled out the milk because I don't want it too thin and I don't want it too thick. I'm also going to pop in an egg. And I'm going to get my cornmeal. Okay, let me give me a spoon. And this is self-rising cornmeal. So there's 1 heaping tablespoon, 2 heaping tablespoon, 3 heaping tablespoon, 4 heaping tablespoon, 5 heaping tablespoon. Now let me get my fork. I'm going to stir that up. Now I need to add just a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar. And we do it this way. Excuse me. Now you can see this consistency. It's even though the cornmeal in there is thickening up, it's still not where I want. It's not the consistency that I want. So I'm going to add another heaping spoon full of cornmeal. One and a half. And as you can see, this is beginning to get where I want it. This is the consistency that I want my cornmeal mix to be. Now I'm going to set this down. I'm going to go over here to the stove and turn my skillet on and show you what I do to get it started, and then we'll get this cornbread frying. I'm turning on my heat, and I'm probably using medium heat. And when I cook cornbread, I stay with it. I don't leave it. Because once you get it going, you can cook quite a bit of cornbread in just a few minutes. Now let me grab my batter. See how that's getting? It's getting just right. Because the cornmeal will thicken up on its own. Now, since I make these for individual dishes, you don't put as much. So here I go. Okay. Now we'll let that cook. I need to check on my squash and make sure everything is doing good with that. Let me check on my cobbler and my meat. That's come along just fine. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to stop for right now, come back in just a little bit and show you the results of the food and finish up what we're going to do for today. We'll see you in a little bit. Well, we're back and we've got this meal completed. As you can see on the table, we have a pot of dried beans ready to dip into with the buttered cornbread. Here in the center, we've got this, and this turned out perfect. I'm really tickled how this turned out. So, folks, when you do your pie filling, you can actually take that and turn that pie filling into a cobbler, and it doesn't have to cook near as long, and you can have a quick, easy dessert, which is absolutely delicious, pretty quickly. We have our meatloaf here. We have squash and onions, and we have the cooked cabbage. And on top of that, for the sides, each one of us here at this house, we like different things. Of course, I can eat just about anything that's on this table. But my husband's favorite thing is 14-day sweet pickles. And I'll pull one of these out for him, because he eats about 3 at every meal. And I'll go on and get his 3 pulled out for him. But this is his thing. So this time I've got to make at least 4 batches of 14-day sweet pickles for him. Me, I love the beet pickles, and you'll be seeing us do all kinds of canning this summer as our harvest comes in and we plant our vegetables and things and they come in. The beet pickles, I love beet pickles. They don't even have to be pickled for me to eat them. And then my son, he loves this pickle relish to go with his beans. And along with this, we have the cooked cabbage, we have the squash and onions, and this beautiful meatloaf that we will devour in just a few minutes. Let's see if I can get this first piece out. Usually the first piece is the hardest to get. So let me see if I can get it out without dilapidating it. It's still pretty warm. So cross your fingers. There we go. And as I said, I wanted to show you the finished product of what we was doing for this meal tonight, and that everything that we have fixed, the cabbage was put up, the squash was put up, the onions was put back and held through my onion harvest that I had bought in October. They are still holding up. I still have probably a good peck of my onions left. We just finished all of our potatoes up, and I bought my first 10-pound bag of potatoes yesterday. And our dried beans with our apple cobbler and all the trimmings and everything makes a mighty good meal. So I have enough for tonight, and then they'll have enough for tomorrow. Now, at the ending and the beginning of the last session, I had told you about dish rags. Let's go. I want to finish that up. I had told you about finding on one of the YouTubes, and I apologize, I don't remember which YouTube it was, but it was a very simple instructions to make these beautiful dishcloths, and it doesn't take very long at all to do this. So if you got a piece of paper, just jot it down because it's very simple. And I bought this to see how many of these dishcloths I could get out of this spool. And I think I give 9 something for this spool of peaches and cream 100% cotton thread to make these dishcloths. And I got this one because it was a variegated color. But what I started out with, if you will chain, for those that know how to crochet, if you'll chain, make you a chain of 33 stitches, make them kindly loose. And then when you come back, you're going to do a slip stitch and a half stitch. And you're going to do that all the way across. And when you get down here to the end, you're always going to end up with a half stitch. And then you're going to add a stitch, just put in another single stitch. And then you will start again on going back to the same row, a half stitch, or the single stitch, or slip stitch, and then the half stitch, and you'll go all the way through until you come back, and you'll turn it around and you'll do it all over again. I did about 28 rows, and if you do it kind of loose, you can see how they turn out. And that's all there is to it, folks. Just those 2 stitches, and then when you get ready to tie it off, when I got down here to the end of it, I just turned this. I made a single stitch here and added a slip stitch to it, and then I single stitched all the way across my edges to every stitch, added a single stitch here, and then went across and did the same thing until I repeated until I come back and tied it off. And I believe these are going to be really, really good. And I wanted to share that with you because it's not going to take much time to get a few of these made. And like I said, I wanted to see how many I could get out of one of these spools. I don't want to leave until I give you the word for the day. And the word for the day you're going to find in Psalms 103. And 103 verses 1 through 3. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Who forgiveth all of thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases, who redeemeth thy life from destruction, who crowneth thee with lovingkindness and tender mercies. This is so good. I'm just going to go on and finish reading this part. Who satisfieth thy mouth with good things, so that thy youth is renewed like the eagles. The Lord executeth righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. He made known his ways unto Moses, his acts unto the children of Israel. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and plenteous in mercy. I want to take time to thank our Lord for his mercy and for his grace. And where he tells us, when we bless him, he forgives all of our iniquities, all of our shortcomings, all of our downfalls. And he blesses us with mercy and grace. And on top of that, he healeth all of our diseases. I thank the Lord for such a good God. And I want to leave you with this word. God is merciful. He is faithful. He will keep us through everything that we have to go through. He will walk with us. He will hold our hand. He will cover us with his feathers. God is a good God, and I'm thankful. Everyone, have a blessed night and a good day tomorrow.